Oh, we should have my possible. Okay. Stop it, idiot. It's alive.
Oh, sorry.
All right, guys, welcome back to another Star Wars with Daddies, episode 58. How are you doing today, Afton?
I'm doing good. How you doing today, Sammy?
I'm doing biscuit and gravy.
Watch me some gravy too. Oh no. I gotta watch Star Wars with the boys.
All right. So we had a great week of Star Wars Ahsoka. What did you give it out of 10, Afton?
It's hard for me. I think I'm just gonna give it a solid. I don't see anything really wrong with the episode at all. So by default, I want to just give it like a 9.5 or a 10. I'm just gonna give it a 9. There's nothing that they did wrong with it. The episode was amazing, but as this kid's wife over here pointed out, it was very predictable. And honestly, second to last episode, I got no problem with it being predictable. It was great. We had some action scenes. The action scenes were awesome to watch, visually pleasing. Just some characters coming together. Hera's an idiot, and that infuriates everyone, which means she's very in character.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've gotten to episode 7, episode 8 is just around the corner. I'm gonna kind of go through and re-rank every episode, right? And then I'll give you my episode 7, and then I might surprise you, but I'll give it to you. So episode 1 and 2, I'm gonna give because I think you can't really rank them without each other because they just kind of coincide. I think I'm gonna give them an 8, so not bad. As well as episode 3, just an 8. It's close to an 8.5, but it's an 8 to me. Episode 4, I'm gonna give it 8.5. It was pretty great, especially the ending. You know, episode 1, 2, 3 were all great. You know what? I'll be honest. Episode 4 was a 9. I actually think I loved episode 4, one of the best. But now that we've seen episode 5 and 6, we know what is the best. So I'm not gonna give it a 10 or anything like that. So episode 4 is a 9. Episode 5 is a 9.5 for me. It's a great episode. Obviously, we got the Ahsoka, but in the long scheme of things, you know, that episode should have been a little bit longer, so we could have got more, you know, plot development. That episode really didn't have much plot development, if we're being honest. It had really cool stuff, and it worked. It did work, but it didn't really proceed in the plot much, which kind of brings it down a ranking for me. Episode 6 is my favorite. It's a 10. Episode 6 is absolute best. And episode 7. So this most recent is between an 8 or 8.5 out of 10 for me. It's got a lot of problems in this one. Not as much as the first 2. But why I'm leaning more towards 8.5 because I think it's better than the first 2 episodes. I do. You know, I would say 8.5. It's closer to a 9, but it's better than the first 2 episodes. It is. And the first 2 episodes are 8 to me. So start off with what I liked. Every scene with Shin, Balin, they're just great scenes, right? They do not fail. They're very interesting, very mysterious, very methodical. You're always interested to see if there's any more character development, anything new in those characters. They're very well done characters. They're interesting in every single way possible. And, you know, that just as the series goes on, they just keep getting better and better. So that's just got to bring it up because they were an important part of this episode. And then people are clowning on the Thrawn, right? Because he looks a little bit goofy. But I like everything with Thrawn. I've loved. First of all, they knock the music out of the park when Thrawn scene is going on. They do knock it out of the park. The music is great. The setting is great. The theming is great, right? As well as the Night Sisters / Dathomir witches, all of them, Morgan Elsbeth, the 3 grandmothers, all of that stuff, all of the antagonist parts, I think are knocked out of the park in every single way, which is super important to me because a series really can't be much interesting if there's not a good antagonist. Because what is your protagonist supposed to do, right? fight itself, go through an easy challenge. That's part of the problem with Boba Fett. It's like his challenge is easy. He's fighting a bunch of guys, a drug criminals. Like it's okay. It got some intrigue, but it was kind of goofy. It didn't really work very well, right? Same thing with Andor. I mean, it was supposed to be the Empire, but he wasn't really fighting the Empire for like half of it, right? He was just fighting goofy guards or whatever. It's the same thing, but this has so far the best antagonist out of all of the series so far. It works, right? And I really like that part of it. But we go to the protagonist parts, and that's where it gets a little choppy for me. So we're kind of back on track with Sabine just blowing things up a little bit, right? In the first episode or 2 episodes, it was like, what is going on with Sabine? She's kind of being dumb, right? Like the decisions she's making are just super stupid. They don't make sense. And not like, oh, the character is supposed to be dumb. Just like these don't make sense. Like, why was she not talking to Ezra about their situation with Thrawn and Ahsoka? Right? Like they were on a car ride together. Obviously, she was going to update him on the events after, Ezra left, but also tell them the situation that they're in. But they still don't do that, and I really don't understand that because they're just dragging that out, and there's no reason to drag that out. That's just extra exposition that doesn't need to be there, in my opinion, right? As well as I do like Ezra. I think they've done Ezra pretty good so far. I actually loved his character, kind of transitioned from animation to live action. It's been done very well. Whoever the actor is, he kind of just gets all the knacks really good so far, and I really appreciate that. But the whole lightsaber thing, and him using the Force, it just seems a little off to me. It just doesn't fit. Especially because like he kind of set up like, oh, I don't need lightsaber, I can use the Force. Okay, he seemed like this grand master of the Force. He's really not doing anything. He's just pushing people, right? Which just doesn't really do anything for me. That was my only knock on Ezra, to be honest. Besides that, I think Ezra's done really well. As well as Ahsoka, her character is great. It's pretty much that's the biggest problem, as well as the beginning. So I love that scene with Hera in the trial, the New Republic, as well as C-3PO. That seems a great scene. It brings a lot of exposition. That's not bad, but in my opinion, just not needed, right? I think it's an extra 5 minutes that could have been shortened down to a minute or 2 minutes and gotten the point across, right? I don't really think that's needed. I don't know. I don't really know how they could have brought that in a different way, but they should have. Because that's just, I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it. I just don't think it needed to be there. That whole trial with Zonin and Moth, what's her name? Mon Mothma, and C-3PO and Hera. It's just a little too extra for me. That's all. But it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't like they didn't execute the scene properly. It's just like afterwards, you're like, this doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the episode. It's just kind of there. And I think they did it because they felt like we're forgetting about Hera, which is fine and understandable. But if you look at it in the last episode or two, that scene just didn't really fit in. That's all. But it's still a great episode. Just a couple more problems. Like episode 6, there's no problems to me. Like episode 6 is almost flawless in every single way. Episode 7 almost a couple flaws, which is why it's so high. 8.5 out of 10 that's a high rank. It's just not perfect.
The was it the most previous episode? Was it episode 6 or was it episode 5 where Hera was threatened? I'm pretty sure it was episode 6, right? That she was like, your position as a general is being threatened, right?
That's episode 5.
That's episode 5. So we did actually just skip a complete episode of Hera.
Yeah.
I hardly even noticed that. Yeah, there was just so much going on with episode 6 that you could just overlook that. But I will agree that the Hera scene was just kind of like that. That's the most forgettable part of the episode. If you walked in and missed the first 5 minutes where that happened, you wouldn't miss a thing.
I feel they did it because they didn't want to forget about Hera. Like, oh, Hera's kind of an important character. We can't leave her out of 2 episodes completely. I think that's why they put it in there. Because I think that whole scene is going to set something up with Thrawn returning, and the New Republic's going to freak out. But Hera's going to be expecting it, and some of them are going to be prepared. I think it's going to be something like that. But it just didn't really have a place in this particular episode is all. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, yeah, I think that's going to be very similar to what happens too, because Hera is the one person back on the regular galaxy, where everyone else is all just doing their own thing over there with their space whales. So Hera's definitely going to be prepared with her squadron. But I mean, I'm just so excited to see what's happening next with everyone on this weird planet, which I never forgot of. But the one thing that's bothering me, it's I don't know if you call it a plot hole. I don't know what you call it. But if Grand Admiral Thrawn had an ETA, had an expected time that he was like, oh shoot, I got my hyperspace ring that's coming on this day. Why did he not pack all of his stuff up beforehand?
Oh, I couldn't answer that. You keep asking me that. That's you. First of all, they didn't know when they were coming.
The mothers didn't know?
No. They once they were already jumping, they kind of knew, but they didn't know when to come. Like, all right, on January 10th, we're expecting Morgan Elsbeth and all of these troops. Right? They didn't know they had Sabine, right? Because both Thrawn and the grandmothers were surprised that they had them. Thrawn didn't know who Shin or Balin were. Right? They're like, who are these guys? Right? They had to introduce them. They didn't know any of that stuff, right? Which can be easily assumed that they didn't know exactly when they're going to come. They just knew they were going to come eventually. Second thing is, those are tombs, right? That was part of the deal. Why would Thrawn fulfill his side of the deal, right? The grandmothers said they'll help use their magic if when Thrawn leaves, if he'll take the tombs, right? Empty the catacombs of the dead sisters. Why would he fulfill that side of the deal if they don't fulfill their side of the deal first?
Actually, I completely see it now because since Sabine was never expected, it was expected Ezra just comes randomly, and then he's just been sitting there forever. They don't know where he is. They don't really care where he is because they're just going to abandon him. And they didn't expect Sabine to come, and then now Ahsoka. I take it back. I wasn't. I see the deal side of it now. That makes
I
a lot more
understand what
sense.
you're saying, but it seems like it's just kind of assumed, like no one knew when they were coming. They're just ready to go now, so let's go.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. But I also love the animations, not the animation, just the hologram, the whole map, that how analytical Thrawn is, because that's exactly how he is in the Clone Wars. He is just, or not the Clone Wars, Rebels. He's just so analytical. He sees something that happens, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to be 7 steps ahead of you."
The other thing I see people are like talking about is like they don't think Thrawn has been super strategic. They're like, oh, he has his big plan for Ahsoka, and then he loses the first battle. I'm in the middle of reading the Heir of the Empire series by Timothy Zahn, the original. Like this was supposed to be the extended universe after Episode 6, right? And Thrawn is, the Thrawn that we see now is based off the Thrawn from those novels, right? And Legends now, but it's supposed to be based off that character. And Thrawn loses all the time, right? That's not unique to Thrawn. In fact, I actually was very happy how they did with Thrawn. Thrawn loses the first battle, and then he says, "Yeah, that's okay, because we weren't really trying to kill them. We weren't ever trying to kill them, right? We said we're going to leave them before. That's still what we're going to do. And now we have more time. All of our stuff's almost completely packed, and they have no idea. We're ready to go. Right? Like that's pretty much what it was. And to be honest, I don't think his grand plan is given up. Let's say if Thrawn is thwarted again in the next episode and he dies or something like that, then I'll have a problem. But I do not get that vibe at all. In fact, I get the vibe that Thrawn's grand plan of escaping the galaxy and defeating Ahsoka and the rebels is going to kind of come to fruition in the next episode, right? Hence, it's going to be a finale, and it's going to be an hour long. I think we're going to see a lot of cool things in the next episode. I think this whole episode was setting up the last episode pretty much. It's just an exposition episode, right?
Yeah.
And we've got a couple other exposition episodes that were bangers. This just wasn't a banger. It was just a little bit slower, that's all. And it had some couple of things that I missed, right? Like the Sabine part or Ezra using the Force or whatever. I think I'm, I can go over each character, what I'm excited about. Like, I'm super excited to see what he's sensing on the planet and, what he's searching for, because he's just given up now on Thrawn and Shin and all of them. And no one knew what to expect, and that's just happening now. So now we are all expecting to see, okay, what is this thing? This has got to be super important. It's got to be super cool. And I don't expect Dave Filoni to miss on that next week. As well as I am excited to see, I'm kind of expecting some sort of plan where Ahsoka and them are captured by Thrawn. And I think that they'll get to the normal galaxy, but they're going to be as prisoners, right? I think Thrawn in the end is going to win everything. He's going to have them as prisoners. He's going to return back to the new galaxy, and it's just going to be, oh crap, what's happening, right? Like Thrawn just wanted everything. He's back. He has Ahsoka, Sabine, all of them as prisoners, right? That's what I see. I don't see, them escaping. I don't see them defeating Thrawn. I don't see any of that. From all reports, Thrawn's supposed to be the big bad guy, and that could just be rumors, but it seems like that's what Disney is heading with this, right? I mean, we got mentions of Thrawn in Mandalorian season 3, right? Like, there's talks of Thrawn's return, right? So I think they're trying to set up Thrawn as the big bad for the Mandoverse, right? And I think that's what this next episode's going to do. It's like, okay, now Thrawn is here.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome just movie having Thrawn as the main villain. I mean, he's after reading a book about him, he's just an insane villain. He's just so cool to read about and watch. Even in the Rebels, you see some of the things he does, and it's just insane how far ahead he thinks, or how he's like, oh yeah, I just lost 2 squadrons, and I know we're short and all, but yeah, they got like 10 hours to get back here, and I'm pretty sure Hu Ying doesn't know how to fly a ship. So it's like, I really love how they did Thrawn's character. I thought he did look a little bit goofy when he came in as first, but whenever Sammy pointed out that's the same voice actor, I was like, yeah, all are forgiven. I do not care. If you put the same voice actor from Rebels into live action form, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think it's a miss. That's for sure. It's not a bad episode. Definitely recommend go watching that. Let us know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comments. I see it kind of split. I see a lot of fans kind of like me, like, yeah, it was pretty good. It was a little slow in some parts, and some things were weird. It was pretty good overall, though. And then I see other fans kind of like, ooh, this is a pretty big step back, right? And then I see guys just in the middle, kind of also like me, like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great. Had some things it missed, had some things it did good. So let us know where you guys are at with this. Super excited for the finale next week. We're actually going to be doing a watch party, so keep an eye out for that on Tuesday, our time, Eastern time. It does come out at 9. We'll probably start streaming at like 9:05, but we'll be starting the stream at like 8:30. Like we'll get there a time in advance. You guys will sit with us, watch it together. It's gonna be real awesome.
Get your popcorn out.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty freaking cool. So yeah, look out for that next week. It's gonna be an awesome stream. I think it's gonna be a really good episode. It's gonna be nice and long too. So yeah, don't forget to hit that follow and download if you're on the pod. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like on the YouTube. We'll see you guys next week for Star Wars with Daddies. Also the watch party. So with that, we hope you guys have a good one. We'll see you in the next episode.